52nd district race, I think one of the funnier commercials, and I can't find it. I was going to play the commercial, and then I got one of the Carl DeMaio commercials, and I want to have him talk about this. But the Scott Peters, the pro Scott Peters ad that's running now, they have a guy who supposedly looks, I guess, if you added several pounds to Carl, maybe it looks like Carl from the backside. And the premise is he's there, and he's got Tea Party stuff all over his office, and he's trying to erase things on the internet. And the funniest thing to me, there's a mug that says "I Heart Tea Party," and it's based on what? It's based on a forum. There was a question and answer period. This happened several months ago with Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, leading the government shutdown. And they said, "Oh, look, Carl got this question. Listen what he says about government shutdown. He's a Tea Partier." Bring this up in the 9,000 here, Noah. Right here.
This mess that we have in Washington.
You know, that's a question that I was asked a lot at the door when I walked door to door as a government watchdog wanting to get elected to the city council. People said two things. Number one, I just hope you don't go down there and get sucked into the system and change. Well, you guys probably have seen I've rocked the boat a couple times, proud of it. And so if you take a look at what Ted Cruz is doing, he's a freshman senator. He's certainly creating a lot of stir. So I do believe one individual can make a difference. And it's a question of whether you're willing to stand your ground, whether you're laying out common sense.
So that's just horrible. Carl, how do you plead? You said Ted Cruz is making a difference. I agree, he's making a difference. So that makes you now. Do you have Tea Party or memorabilia all over your office, like that TV ad from Peters and Company?
Oh, you know, it's a complete sign of desperation that Scott Peters is running any positive commercials about his own ideas. He's not laying out solutions to issues people care about, like the economy and like the national debt. Instead, he's just throwing around this divisive label, trying to smear his opponent and engaging in name-calling. And I think this is what's broken about our political system. I believe any individual can make a difference. I do not subscribe to the notion that one person gets to excuse themselves from having an impact by saying, well, I'm one of 435.
No.
And I think that there are people in both parties that have gone in and, depending upon the issue, they have stood their ground. They've raised a case. They keep a focus on an issue. And I do believe one person can make a difference.
But you know what they're doing? It's the Tea Party stuff, which is an offense to people who believe the Constitution is something to be followed. I don't like when the left just broad brushes like that while pretending that they're being inclusive. They also get on you, the Peters campaign gets on you for, talking to the Koch brothers. I mean, they talk to the Soros people. It's an amazing thing. Now, here's one of your ads, just to be fair. Here's one of the Carl DeMaio ads running right now.
Congressman Scott Peters throws around a lot of cash. Problem is, it's ours. Peters pushed San Diego to the brink of bankruptcy, and Peters voted with Nancy Pelosi in Washington to raise the debt ceiling while debt increased over $1 trillion. Carl DeMaio, the better choice. DeMaio reformed our broken pension system and saved taxpayers over $150 million. Carl DeMaio, he'll protect our money in Washington. The National Republican Congressional Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Now, again, that's the key. That's not one where you're coming out saying, I'm Carl DeMaio, I approve this. Both sides, both you and Peters have a lot of ads coming in, and so you can take the high road, but then there are also, you could say that's a hard-hitting, it could be even a negative ad.
Let me just correct something. That's not my ad.
No, that's why I said it's not your ad. It's an ad. It's an ad supporting you, but it is support. That's a Republican national ad. So that comes in, and certainly a lot of these ads, including the Tea Party ad, they come in from other sources to support Peters too. So as much as you say, hey, let's not go negative, there's negative stuff out there. People assume that it's.
But let me make this point. I think this is fundamentally important. A candidate needs to lay out a positive vision for how they will solve problems. You can't control the outside groups. They tend to always go negative. But the big difference in this race, it was the same difference that I encountered when I ran against Bob Filner. It's almost as though Peters is taking a page out of Bob Filner. During the mayoral race, Bob Filner never ran even one positive ad. Not one single 30-second ad. Not one mailer that was positive from his campaign. It was all negative. I want to lay out a positive vision. I want someone to go to the voting booth and say, if I've heard all the negative stuff, but you know what, I want something to vote for. And that's where I think Republicans, and at least for my part, I'm going to lay out a positive agenda on how we fix the economy, how we reform national finance, and how we get government to be held accountable for the things that we pay our taxes for.
Well, and there's no way to really stop that outside advertising, right?
Well, my hope is that we can get some campaign finance reform with paycheck protection. I've even laid out an idea on campaign finance reform that would curb both big business and big labor from spending enormous sums of money in politics. But ultimately, it's up to the candidates to decide if they have some money, if they have some resources that they've received from the grassroots. How do you want to spend that? Do you want to spend it trashing your opponent, or do you want to spend that laying out a positive vision? I choose to lay out a positive vision.
Carl DeMaio with us here. I'll add something. This is not Carl. I just found this. You mentioned Scott Peters and Bob Filner. Here's a little thing that, if we're talking about things, this is why I can't run for office, because I say things on the radio all the time that be used in ads against me out of context. But here's Scott Peters talking about Bob Filner. Just a little bonus here.
My relationship with Bob Filner, I love Bob Filner.
Okay, he loves Bob. So there you go. There's that. Now, Carl DeMaio, let me ask you about the big battle over the minimum wage in San Diego, and now you got the people saying, oh no, it's the people gathering signatures, and this sounds so much like what we've tried to do with campaigns of signature gathering before. Both sides cry foul. Now you have the pro-minimum wage hike people saying, oh no, they're being disingenuous. They have people out there who should be avoiding comments like, oh, if you sign this, you're supporting the minimum wage increase. What about those kinds of battles? Because that's getting nasty down to the wire here.
Yeah, I think it's a strategic mistake by the business community and by so-called Republican politicians to not offer a positive alternative. What they're doing is they're putting themselves in the position of being the party of nothing. What people are concerned about are creating better jobs, improving their income, being able to make ends meet. And so instead of saying, well, no, why not come out with an alternative replacement reform plan?
So you don't think it's enough? So you're not supporting the drive to say, listen, put this on the ballot, let the people decide?
I think it's a complete mistake to say our position is going to be repeal this and then offer no replacement. We have to lay out an agenda to cut red tape on small businesses so that we can create better jobs and so that more money goes into the pockets of our workers rather than into the pocket of government. We should be talking about mandates that impose costs on small businesses, that divert money from workers' paychecks to government mandates. The cost of doing business is too high in the state of California.
Amen.
And so I'd like to be a populist economic reform plan that we get behind that says, here are 6 or 7 or 8 regulations that we are going to reform, eliminate, roll back. And we're going to use every single penny of the savings to put money into the workers' pockets. When I had employees, I looked at how much I was paying them, and it wasn't just what I got them a check for in terms of take-home pay. A lot of times, the increased mandates of government meant that for each individual employee, I was paying more. And that's not money, Mark, that the employee sees, but it is money that the business has to pay, which means we have less money for pay increases and less money for more jobs.
All right, Carl DeMaio, and real quick, as you're running for Congress in the 52nd, the president doesn't have any boots on the ground. It says they won't be boots on the ground. I guess they'll be wearing Birkenstocks if necessary, fighting ISIS. But he's okay with sending 3,000 military personnel to West Africa on the Ebola assignment. What do you make of that?
This is an administration that has absolutely no strategic approach to foreign policy and national security. And given that, it's all the more important that we have members of Congress that are going to raise these issues and be vocal leaders when it comes to demanding the administration come up with more thoughtful approaches to dealing with our national security.
All right, Carl DeMaio, you can find him online at carldemaio.com. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate the update.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, 1170.